I'm literally shaking every time I come out of your name now. Sister
No.
Samira, have you seen Lady Adele in action before?
Do you know what? Only one time, and it was powerful enough. So I'm just going to stay quiet and just bow to the Queen, and I'm here to learn.
All right, my Queen. Sister Lady Adele, you know, you've got your own following, sister. And, you know, you're doing some amazing works. Even when you're not on the platform, you're working hard for the liberation of our people. And before you go into your subject matter, because I'm going to keep quiet in a second, sister, before you go into your subject matter, with all what's taking place right now with the young people and what's happening with the media and the news and the COVID and whatever, okay, how has it been working in education, going through a time in which we've never ever lived in before?
Well, I've got to say, in my experience over this last 18 months to 2 years, that the world of education has changed, I would say, beyond recognition, really. And I think the journey that we're taking our children and our families on is a completely different journey. And I think when the young people come out at the other end, and when us as parents come out at the other end, we will see that we have not gone forward, but we have potentially gone backwards.
Wow.
And so we as a community, we really need to get a hold of this and what's going on, because it's engineered in so many ways, whether originally it was deliberate, but it's provided an opportunity now for the further destruction of the family. And that's a critical thing. We think that COVID has brought families together because we're all at home with our children, but there's been a seepage in that's actually causing a disruption and a destructive force within that. So I want to be able to share that today, and I've got a few more presentations I'm working on that specifically focus on education and the damage that is being done, and also to look at the solutions, because the solutions are with us. And I just wanted to comment on something that Sister Francine says. She says, lobby, don't wait to lobby, just we've got to do for self. And the answer solely relies on doing for self. If we're going to wait for any other organization, I work in schools, I know Sister Jarita, we work in schools, but we know that if we're waiting for change to be there, it's not going to happen, or the change that happens is not going to be in our benefit. So the solution is purely within us. And I want to share some of that and get us at least thinking and develop our creativity once again, so we can find those answers.
Sister, we are just your little intro there, sister. We are so excited to hear from you, sister. I don't know where you're going with this tonight, and it's going to be powerful. So, sister, please get ready to share your screen. As Sister Lady Adele is sharing her screen, I want to give a shout out to Sister Velma. Sister Velma Williams, you have just donated to Jamaica. We thank you, brothers and sisters. The Lady Adele was going on tonight. She's getting her screen ready. Please don't forget, we want to try and raise up so much money tonight that we can show our brothers and sisters in Jamaica that we love them. Just as Lady Adele is going through a presentation. Let me know when you're ready, Lady Adele.
Can't do it, Brother Andrew. It says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Boy, you women are on me tonight, man. Cha. My God, try again now, sister. I've got Rita on my back. I've got Samira on my back. Now you're cussing me about Cha. Brothers and sisters, it's not easy. It's not easy working with these women today,
please, Brother Andrew, please.
All right then, Cha. Lady Adele, it's all yours tonight, man. We can't wait for this presentation. Teach us. Sister Denise has just donated. Lady Adele, it's all yours. I'm shutting up.
So can I just say, Brother Andrew, that I'm going to take my time today. So if I run out of time, please stop me and I can carry on next week. But I don't want to rush this.
Don't rush it, sister. We wanna sit at your feet tonight. Please take your time.
Okay, so family. So when I was last on, and I know it was a long time ago, I was going into the whole thing about critical theory and what the impact on us, not just as a community, but on us as a people within the UK. So I'm going to draw on one of the sessions that I did back in that time, but I've really developed onto that. And the title for today is that truth fears no lie. And the reason I want to title it this is because we have now become a very fearful people. We were a fearful people pre-COVID, and we've become an even more fearful people since COVID. We might have moments where we have collective strength, but generally we're in fear. And when we look at it, we will start to see that that's the truth. because we can't see truth anymore. We don't really know truth anymore. We can't recognize truth, and we are often not checking for truth. And what we know about people who live in this fear of truth, is that those people are an enslaved people. So therefore, I'm starting this session by saying that we ourselves are in an enslaved situation, and that we're promoting that within ourselves. Now, here we've got an image of Lady Justice. We often see her at the courthouses. Her name is actually Themis. She's the ancient Greek goddess of law, order, and justice. And she is based on this great goddess here, Ma'at. And we know that Ma'at and the weighing of the heart at the death of the pharaohs, and that is all about truth and justice and balance there. Now, Lady Justice, she carries the scale. You can see the scale, and what that represents is that both sides of the argument needs to be looked at in a balanced way, because the scale's always balanced. In her other hand, she carries a double-edged sword, and that double-edged sword is a symbol of enforcement and respect, and that justice stands by her decision. So Lady Justice, she stands by her decisions, whether that is truth or whether that is a lie. She will enforce that decision. Sorry, the blindfold is quite an interesting addition, because in the 16th century, it originally meant that the judicial system was tolerating abuse of aspects of the law, that it wasn't fair for the people. But in modern times, a twist came through, and it now represents impartiality and objectivity of the law, and that it will not allow outside factors to influence her decision or the decision of law. So whether that's politics, wealth, or fame, they're not supposed to have any impact on the law. But what is very interesting is the Honourable Louis Farrakhan reminds us that justice and truth is now the argument that is the strongest, the best, and the one that wins. And this means that truth is not necessarily the one that comes out on top, or the truth is not necessarily the one that wins. So we're living in an age where you can be wrong and strong. And if you have enough money, or know the right people, or have the right power, that you are the winner, and you will come out on top. So that's just an interesting thing to know about truth and about lies. So we were looking some months back at critical theory of the Frankfurt School that was founded in 1923 in Germany. And it's an organizing center for the most important or advanced ideas in national and global philosophy. And philosophy is all about thought. And it's also the advanced ideas in anthropology, which is the study of societies, cultures, and their development. And also critical theory is about advanced ideas in sociology, which is the study of society and its organization. So critical theorists is a manipulative process, and it builds on the ancient Greek philosophy of reason and logic. And how does it manipulate us? Well, one, it breaks the link. Its aim is to break the link between God and man. And here we're looking at the Sistine Chapel. And if you look at those hands very closely, Michelangelo is showing that God is reaching his hand out to man. Look how limp man's hand is, yet God is reaching out. And is Michelangelo telling us something there? That God is to reach out to man, not man to God. And we live in an age now where as a race, we're saying God doesn't matter. He must come to us, not us to him. Is that the true message in that image? The manipulative process of critical theory is to destroy culture and the efficiency of culture. It's to destroy the natural place of males within our society. It is to destroy the family. And we see that all around us in media, music, and in news. And so today we are going to start our journey into the belly of three beasts. We're going to look briefly at the philosophy around Dante's circles of hell. We're going to briefly look at Plato's cave, and then we're going to drop into the hell of the matrix. But just to reassure us there, we just need to remember that in the land of the blind, the third-eyed man is king. And this is telling us that we need to open and have open or get open our third eye. So for those of us who don't know about Dante's 9 circles of hell, it's an imagery of 9 concentric circles. And here are the 9 circles themselves. There's the list of them. But what we need to remember is that as you go down that list, that was recognized by Dante as the gradual increase in wickedness. So limbo is not so bad, but by the time you get down to treachery, that is considered the worst level of wickedness and evil. And in the center, once you get down those 9 circles, once you get to the center, right there is Satan himself, who is in bondage, because he's in bondage and has been condemned for committing the ultimate sin. And at that time, the ultimate sin is personal treachery against himself. So that's quite interesting, because we think of the evil that Satan's done out to others, but actually the ultimate sin was personal treachery. So we have to look at that within ourselves. And you can see there that Satan has 3 faces to represent control over the whole world. So we have a red face, a yellow face, and a black face, and they represent the peoples on earth. So the red face is the European, and it is also said to be Japheth, one of Noah's sons. Then we have the Asian, or the yellow face, which is the Asian people, which is Noah's son Shem. And then we have the black face, which represents the black people on the earth, which is Noah's son Ham. And we can see, however, that it is the European face that is staring us front on. So Dante, who is he? Dante Alighieri. He's an Italian writer of the 14th century, and he wrote this epic poem about the 9 circles of hell. And it's depicted, as I said, in these 9 concentric rings of torment, which is located within the earth. And he describes it as the realm of those who have rejected spiritual values by yielding to bestial appetites or violence, or by perverting their human intellect to fraud or malice against their fellow men. Now, that was said in the 14th century. We could say, how true is that today? And above the doorway, as Dante goes to enter hell, is this phrase here, lasciate ogni speranza voi centrate. And that is a phrase we've often heard, which is abandon hope, you who enter. So if we were to ask amongst ourselves or have discussion, who is the Greek creator of Western civilization, many of us would say Aristotle, because it is often claimed to be that. Now, Dante based his circles of hell on the ideas of Aristotle. And Aristotle, as I said, is one of the greatest philosophers and influencers of Western ideology. He's claimed to have also been the first scientist in history. He created logical thought, and he said, pursuit of happiness, because happiness is an end in itself. So it's very important to know this, because this is what Western ideology and philosophy is built on. Another hell is Plato's cave. Now, Plato is another influence of Western civilization today, and he is a teacher of Aristotle. So bearing in mind that Dante based the 9 circles of hell on Aristotle's teaching, and Plato taught Aristotle, we can see it goes back even further than that. Now, Plato's philosophy about the cave is that the cave is a place where people have been imprisoned since childhood, not from birth, that's very important, but since childhood. And in the cave, since childhood, the young people grow up chained, having their legs and their necks chained to force them to look at the wall in front of them. So they can't look around them, they can't look at others, and they can't even look at themselves. Now you will see from the image that behind the prisoners is a fire. And between the fire and the prisoners, people are walking, carrying objects and talking and making sounds that are reflected on the wall. And the prisoners see the shadows and hear the sounds, and they see it as reality because they know no difference. And the interesting thing is that these images and sounds are inspired by life outside the cave. But because they are shadows, they are actually not reality. The fire represents political doctrine. The light and the shadow is used to teach the dominant doctrines of the time and place that people find themselves chained to. And we know today that news is definitely not news. It is just a form of social conditioning. So Plato goes on to say that very few escape the cave. In fact, the only people who could escape the cave are true philosophers who have had decades of preparation. They would be able to leave and escape up a very, very steep incline. But he goes on to say most humans will not leave the cave. They will always remain at the bottom of the cave. And Plato supposes that a freed prisoner, if they could be freed from their chains, would look around them and they would see the fire. And this light would be so bright it would hurt their eyes and make it difficult for them to see the shadows being cast on the walls. And if they were told that the shadows they were seeing and looking at were not reality, they would reject that truth. And in the pain from their eyes, from that fire, the prisoner would just turn back and go back to what he's accustomed to, because it would be clearer for him to see. So just listening to that there, you can see how the philosophy of Plato is with us and living out in the world we're in today. So taking this theory on, Plato goes on to say that if you could actually drag a prisoner out by force, out of the cave into the sunlight, that prisoner would be angry and would be in extreme pain because the light would blind them. But slowly, as we know, the eyes would adjust to the light and the prisoner would be able to see shadows, then be able to see reflections, see things in the water, start to see people, start to see things, start to see the stars and the moon, and finally be able to look at the sun. And Plato said it's only after that prisoner could look straight at the sun would he be able to reason about life around him. And the prisoner would then see that the real world is superior to life in the cave, and would then want to go back into the cave to share that information and with the prisoners, so they themselves would want to set themselves free. And that's what we're doing. We're entering into the reality. We can see the reality, and we often want to go and set others free around us. But what Plato says, that on re-entering the cave, that once freed prisoner would become blinded now by the darkness. So when the prisoners who are still chained up would see them, they would say, well, the light outside of the cave has harmed you because you've come back and now you cannot see. And those prisoners would want to reach out and harm or kill that person who was once outside. So this theory from Plato is about the world of ideas. It's not about the world of the material world. It's about ideology. So if you listen to how Plato tells that story, he does it and he's suggesting, well, nobody can escape. Not even us learned philosophers can escape. So why bother to try? And if that is the root of Western ideology, then why should we bother to escape and free ourselves from the false reality that is put upon us? Now, Socrates, another Greek philosopher that influences Western ideology, he was a teacher of Plato. And he says, those who have ascended to this highest level must not remain there, but must return to the cave and dwell with the prisoners, sharing their labors and their honors. The plan is not to be free. But what is important, if you remember what I said at the start of this ideology of Plato, is that the prisoner is not born into the cave. And on his escape, he would be free, if he could escape, to see the sun. And what does the sun represent in Plato's ideology? The child of goodness. It represents innocence and wisdom, proposing that just, the quote, as the sun illuminates, bestowing the ability to see and be seen with its light, so the idea of goodness illumines the intelligible with truth. So there is a connection in Plato's time of the sun and the intelligible world. And Jesus explained it so simply. All of that is explained so simply in "a little child shall lead them." Because remember, the child at birth was never in the cave. So what's interesting is both Plato and Socrates and Aristotle are all seen as critical theorists about getting us trapped into a world of false reality. And so moving on to our third state of hell before we go into the main body of today is modern times. So humanity, we know, we see all around us, is unknowingly trapped inside a simulated reality that is becoming more and more simulated as time goes on. And the whole COVID pandemic has really supported that agenda, the Matrix. So we know from the story that the agents want to use Neo to get to Morpheus to inject the bug. But at that point, it's when Neo realizes the nightmare he was having was a real nightmare. And the mission, the whole mission of the Nebuchadnezzar, of Zion, of Morpheus, of Neo, of Trinity, of all that group is to set people free. And Morpheus makes these important quotes. You have to understand, most people are not ready to be unplugged. And we need to be aware of that ourselves as we go around and we talk. Casting pearl before swine is a quote from the Bible. People are not always ready. He also says, what you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You've felt it all your entire life. And this is something we know about young people. They feel it, but they can't explain it. And it causes them to behave in ways that we are saying are not appropriate. It's because they don't know and understand, but they pick up the sense. And Morpheus also says, don't think you are, know you are. So those are very important quotes for me from The Matrix. And one thing we do know within that film, that death within the Matrix is death within the physical world. So what is the Matrix today? Intelligent machines created to distract humans or to distract us. And when I'm talking about intelligent machines, I'm not talking about the laptop that we're using now for hidden truth. It's a powerful tool. I'm not talking about our mobile phones, but I'm talking about what we do with them, how we use Instagram, how we use YouTube, Amazon, Netflix, even Tesla cars, and how we use Siri, because these things are now so intelligent in their own right, they make decisions on our behalf because they are beginning to know us. I know when I go on to Google, adverts flip up all the time. I think to myself, how do they know I'm interested in that? How do they know I want to buy that? So these tools are now are able to distract us, and we then become that energy source. So yes,
sister, I know you don't like it. I know you don't like it. Brothers and sisters, look at this. Brothers, if you're feeling this teaching tonight, if you know we're going in tonight, finish off the sentence. If you're making your notes and you're feeling the Rasta woman tonight, finish it off, man. Sister ain't playing today. Teach, Adele, teach. We've missed you, man.
Thank you, Brother Andrew. So we were just talking about the third hell, which I'm calling the Matrix. And I just want us to watch this clip here.
I have to find the boat.
A boat? Hey, I've seen a boat.
You have?
Uh-huh, and it passed by not too long ago.
A white one?
Hi, I'm Dory.
Where? Which way?
Oh, it went, this way. It went this way. Follow me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem. trying to swim here. What, the ocean isn't big enough for you or something like that?
Huh?
You got a problem, buddy? Huh? Huh? Do you? Do you? Do you? Want a piece of me? Yeah, yeah. Ooh, I'm scared now. What?
Wait a minute.
Stop following me, okay?
What are you talking about? You're showing me which way the boat went.
A boat? Hey, I've seen a boat. It passed by not too long ago. It went, this way. It went this way. Follow me.
Wait a minute, wait a minute! What is going on? You already told me which way the boat was going.
I did? Oh, no.
If this is some kind of practical joke, it's not funny. And I know funny. I'm a clownfish.
No, it's not. I know it's not. I'm so sorry. See, I suffer from short-term memory loss.
Short-term memory loss. I don't believe this.
No, it's true. I forget things almost instantly. It runs in my family. Well, I mean, at least I think it does. Where are they? Can I help you?
Something's wrong with you. Really. You're wasting my time.
So family,
Oh my God, Adele, what are you doing tonight? That is us. That is the public. That is the black community. Teach. I felt that, sister.
so Brother Andrew and family, I'm showing that video there because we are trapped, and our young people, because like Sister Jurita, I'm from education, so we see this right at grassroots, but it is within us as adults and parents as well. But our young children are now dead within the matrix, so they're dead within the real world. They're becoming ineffective. They can't make decisions. They lack resilience. There's mental instability. They can't see. They can't think. And like Dory, not being able to see or to remember, they're not pursuing their purpose or their passion.
Take me now. Take me. Ah! Killer, sister, ease up on them lyrics, man. Cha, Rasta.
So we need to support our young people in pursuing their passion, not forgetting about it, not stopping and starting, but being able to see the bigger and the longer picture. Now, that's just an introduction, family. And as we now go into the meat of the presentation today, we really need to pray, and I needed to pray for the wisdom and protection from our ancestors and the opening of our inner eye. Because as Brother Andrew always says, we have to unlearn what we have learned, but we also have to fill that vacant space with true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, because this is what will protect us on our journey into why this is all happening to us. And on the door that I'm about to open is written, such a writing must be secured from public scrutiny, otherwise it might be recognized as a technically formal declaration of domestic war. And this comes from some American government documentation from the that came out, well, it didn't come out, it was leaked in the 1990s. And that is what was being said about people in general. And the quote goes on to say, to those who were there present at the presentation of this information, that you have qualified, that's the people who were there for this project, because of your ability to look at human society with cold objectivity. This is what we're walking into when we think people and systems and processes are on our side and on our friends. It comes on the back of these statements that critical theorists and the elite followers are living by. And so what we need to do is we need to put on our own daily sunglasses, because that is the only way we will start to break into it. Because taking that quote on even further, the person who made this presentation, made that speech at a critical theorist session, was that in the interest of future world order, peace and tranquility, it was decided to privately wage a quiet war against the public with an ultimate objective of permanently shifting the natural and social energy of the undisciplined and irresponsible many into the hands of the self-disciplined, responsible, and worthy few. So right there, we are being recognized as unworthy and irresponsible. And you can see how that comes right off the back of Plato and of Dante. So this is nothing new. It's just that we are caught in that trap. So the critical theorist of the Tavistock Institute, the Tavistock Institute is the leader, the leading organizer in global thinking, in strategic thinking that we all follow. And they believe that society needs to be taken over in total control. So up until now, it's been piecemeal control, different places at different times, but they're now saying that global total control needs to take place. And how they are working to do this at Tavistock Institute, through health, through education, through politics, is starting by training and assigning what they call a lifelong yoke of social duties, that's their terminologies, onto our young people from an early age, before they have the consciousness to ask questions and reasons the why, and before our teenagers know how to protect their own subconscious. So we as adults must be aware of this, and also bearing in mind that we ourselves have been conditioned. So it's a double fight. And when we think about what Sister Francine says, that we can't wait on lobbying, we've got to do for self, we've got to do the unlearning, painfully as it is, for ourselves. And in order for the critical theorists to get this global, or this complete social conformity, the family unit has to be disintegrated. And that family unit includes the religious unit, because remember that the world was a very religious a place before, whether you were Catholic, Jewish, Protestant, Muslim, whatever it is, religion was a very dominant family, and then the family unit, but it's about disintegrating that process and increasing the preoccupation that parents have, the need for our parents to be working to reach that false, I would say, consumer paradise. And so we've seen that the government over years has established nurseries, and they're increasing nursery time, and they call it the occupationally orphaned children. So our children from a younger age in nurseries were already being defined as occupationally orphaned. Now look how terrible that is, to know that your young child is being referred to in this way. And we see that as more and more free hours are being provided, we believe as parents, as young parents, it's because we have demanded it. But really, and we those of you who followed the critical theory when I was running the sessions before know that the seed is put in our head, so that we now demand it, but seed was put in our head because that is what has been wanted. So now you will notice, actually going further on, that the education system is brought into our home. Homework, we all want our children to be homework. We believe homework is all about securing exam results. Now, if children were working efficiently and effectively and being taught correctly in school, there would be no need for homework. But can you see how education is now in the home? There is no time for families to sit down with children to develop a family. So there is no need to develop the family dynamics and relationship and love. And we fill that gap now with homework. And now that we have blended learning since COVID, it's easier for our children, if they have to be at home, to be working online. So now family time is being reduced. It's very subtle, very beautifully done, because I was a great believer in homework, but now I can see, having had my own children, how that can impact on families. We also know that there is a need to engineer a quality of education that is of a lower standard. And that's for the middle class and the poor. It's not just for the poorer children. So we may see exam results going up, but the opportunities, teaching of critical thinking, teaching of creativity, entrepreneurship, being able to manage challenge is not being offered, is not being taught. So our children are prepared to work, but are not prepared for life. So the mode of ignorance, separating the inferior classes from the elite classes, is very invisible. It is a deliberate purpose, but we cannot see that. And so with that, even the brightest students, there's an education handicap, because it's very difficult to extricate ourselves from the assigned lot that has been placed into life. And plans to mitigate this within education is a social myth. So to think that we're going to change education, that we're genuinely changing education because exam results are going up, because we've got Ofsted to monitor everything, because they've got homework and everybody's got a laptop. Do not be fooled, family, because what is coming through is subtly eroding the family and eroding education for life. And the Honourable Louis Farrakhan actually says that how can it be that for all our education, we still cannot heal ourselves? We still cannot have strong laws to protect ourselves. We still cannot develop economically, yet we spend thousands within the education system. And there's a truth within that. So we are so caught up in this that we don't actually see what is happening. So it's happening around us because we are becoming desensitized, or we're coming to accept situations. We might feel that something is wrong because we cannot put our finger on it. And if we don't know how to express ourselves in a rational way with any level of intelligible force, if that's the case, and that's the case for our children, we are colluding indirectly with what is going on. And when any silent weapon, such as philosophy or an ideology is applied gradually to us, we just adapt and adjust to it. And we adjust to its presence, and we learn to tolerate as it encroaches on our life more and more. And that's even on our life as adults. And this type of silent weapon is a type of biological warfare. So when we think about biological warfare, we think about drugs and things like that. But biological warfare is anything that affects the way our body and our minds operate. And the biological warfare, it says it attacks the vitality, options and mobility of the individuals of a society by knowing, understanding, manipulating and attacking their sources of natural and social energy and their physical, mental, emotional strengths and weaknesses. And why have I actually put knowing and understanding in red? Is because a critical theorists know and understand us in order to do this. And in often cases, they know and understand us as a people better than we know and understand ourselves. And we need to be conscious of this at all times. This is Plato's cave in reality. And if we refuse or are unable to accept truth that is put before us, then we are preferring to kill the bearer of truth. And our bluff is being called out, because the truth is, if the critical theorists are saying this, they're actually hiding truth in plain sight, because they know us and understand us so well, they know the challenge will not be there. So critical theorists and their elite followers, they know that regardless of the quality of education and the limits to knowledge, people are going to begin to see what is happening around them, and they're continuously preparing for that. Here is what they say: the speed with which they can communicate their warning to the public will largely depend on how effective we, the critical theorists, have been at controlling the media, subverting education, and keeping the public distracted with matters of no real importance. This is how this is being maintained. And I want us to remember that the elite plan up to about 120 years in advance. So that sounds ridiculous to us, but they are preparing for generations ahead. We're preparing for our children. We might be preparing for our grandchildren, but they're preparing for generations in advance. They know they will be long dead before the impact sets on society. So when we uprise and we ask for redress or we ask for reparations, the people at the time said, well, it's nothing to do with us. We never set this in motion. And critical theorists know that. So there is no need for guilt or shame later on, because it was done prepared such a long time ago. And how do I know this? Because Plato's cave, because Dante's 9 circles of hell tell us it was already in the making and in the planning way back then. Right, can anybody tell me who this person is? Brother Andrew, I can't see the chat. I'm not technically able to do all of that. Does anybody know who this woman is?
All right, I'm checking. So far, No, can't remember her name, but she did make up a big lie. Someone says Elizabeth Holmes.
Right, well done. So to the person who said Elizabeth Holmes, absolutely correct. And she did make up a very big lie. She had
Sister Caroline, well
Sister
done.
Caroline, well done, Sister Caroline. It's Elizabeth Holmes, and she did make up the very big lie. She's been in the news very recently. She is the founder of Theranos. She's been convicted of fraud. She created, she declared that she created a scientific a machinery that could detect a range of diseases from a few drops of blood. And through her sales pitch of this, she raised $900 million. Now, what is interesting to note is she raised that $900 million from this list of people. Rupert Murdoch, who's a news mogul. Larry Ellison, who's a tech mogul. Harry Kissinger, who's a former Secretary of State in the USA. William Perry, he's a former Secretary of Defense in America. Dick Kovacevic, who's the former CEO of Wells Fargo, which is the world of financing. The Walton family, who run Walmart, who are the richest family in the USA, and the DeVoe family, who are leaders in Amway, cleaning products. That's where they started their road to fortune. Why is this important? Because this list of people are a set of people who engineer how society is going to run, and this woman defrauded all of them. So for me, if these people who are defrauding us can be defrauded by someone so young as Elizabeth Holmes, where do we stand in recognizing what is happening to us? So I want to look at our friend at the moment, which is COVID. COVID has brought with us over the last 2 years loss of work, loss of income, increased reliance and dependence on the state. And we do know that there is a fine balance between the numbers of people we need to be in work and the numbers of people we need to have on benefits. So whether that's financial or in health, and the same is true for we need a certain amount of people to be healthy. We need a certain amount of people to be unhealthy. We need a certain amount of people to be alive, and we need a certain amount of people to die. That is the balance that keeps the society and the economy going. And benefits are considered nothing more, and this is what the critical theorist says, as open-ended credit for those in receipt of it. And they say it is this open-ended credit which puts the roof over our heads, that puts food on our tables, that educates our children with their curriculum, which provides the health care that they see as fit for us, so that we become state property in return for these benefits. So whether it's financial, education, and health, these benefits, because it's done to us, it makes us state property. Now, what we've got to remember is that the Jewish community look after their own because they refuse to be owned by the state, and they make demands and they are feared. So through philosophy and displacement, we as a people have given our minds, and now through COVID, we have given our bodies. So recognizing that we don't have the discipline of restraint because we are greedy, we love credit, we love welfare. These are our drug addictions. We want to have the new consumer products. And you notice that rich people, they spend very little of their money. I know Brother Andrew always shows that advert where we buy from one family, sit down and think we're doing good, but our family has nothing itself. It's usually a video Brother Andrew shows weekly. That's where we are. And in order to manage national and global economics, the critical theorists and the elite followers take control of national and global ideology, and the Tavistock Institute lead on it, and they call it quiet warfare. And they do this by a process, a quote, of benevolent, well-meaning and kindly slavery and genocide. And we are seen, particularly as a Black community, globally, we are seen as the disabled people. We are the community that has the most benefits, the lowest results at higher education. And I'm working on a presentation, a session around education, that we have the lowest income. We are consumer addicted. We do everything we can to belong. We have the highest rate of Black and Black violence, and we lack trust and support for each other. And we have very limited and economic. So this is known about us. And just a little bit of statistics from 2020. In 2020, the BAME community, so that's all people of colour, we spent £300 billion, of which 95% of that was spent outside of the Black community. So it's quite important to see that if we are to start developing for ourselves. So the critical theorists and the elite followers, they believe in the Darwinian model of survival of the fittest, survival of the smartest, survival of the fastest, and that must be them. And they have defined and designed it this way. And the quote is, at this point, it should be crystal clear to the reader why absolute secrecy about the silenced weapons is necessary. The general public refuses to improve its mentality. It has become a herd of proliferating barbarians, and so to speak, a blight upon the face of the earth. They do not care enough about economic science to learn why solutions to earthly problems are unreachable about them. This is what is said in the closed door meetings about us. And until we truly come together and increase our numbers to support platforms such as Hidden Truth and Wyla and One Stop and Marshall and Brown and Jamaica on Ice and all our other community ventures, then we will remain in this trap, as we are not learning the art of economics, including the struggles that make us stronger. So I just want to look very quickly at shock testing. And I mentioned shock testing when I was looking at critical theory, when I was looking at that before. So what is shock testing for those of us who weren't in that session? Well, shock testing was a process used on World War II planes. And what it does, it assesses the impact of vibrational force created by a gun or a missile being fired or dropped from a plane, and how stable that plane will be once the missile or the bomber has been fired or dropped, and how stable that plane will be so it doesn't fall out of the sky. And then what critical theorists did, they took that model to study the behavior of the economy through public response. And so what they would do, for instance, in this country, they would choose products like meat or petrol or interest rates or rate of inflation, and cause a sudden change or shock in the price or the availability of this product to upset the public budget and the buying habits of the people, to see how we will respond. And it's quite important that they do that, because now, as we just look at COVID, we can see that we do not fight back on anything. The French are putting on their high-vis vests and walking up and down the motorway, and people in other Western nations are having their marches and their blockades, but we're not a nation who does that. And where we do it in small numbers, we never hear about it. So what is the purpose of this? It is to acquire the know-how the critical theorist needs to set the community into a state of change. And that includes a self-destructive state also, as well, actually, to convince the people or to the public that the experts should take control of the situation and re-establish balance. So if we're all unsettled, we cry to government and organizations to set things in stable again and make us feel safe. And critical shock testing is not just done on money or on interest rate, it's done on crime, it's done with health, it's done with education and it's done in employment. And we can see from time to time, one of these areas rise up and the government say we need to take action on this. But it's not because we have risen up on that, it's because it was planned for us to uprise on that. So what happens then, once the government takes control of that, or the critical theorist ideology takes control of that, we become more and more totally enslaved within that. And they have found through research actually that a direct relationship between shock testing and the psychological outlook and responses of people. And they did a research where they looked at the direct relationship between the price of petrol and the probability that a person would experience a headache and feel the need to watch a violent film, smoke, or drink. So they've actually tested that to see what is the likelihood of destabilizing a people or a nation. What is the worst that we will experience from them, so that the shock test can go on. So COVID for me, and I know we all have different theories on this, but for me, it is a form of global shock testing. And I propose that it is a shock test for this here. The shock test to say, where would or how will the people around the world behave if we had just one world leader, or one world government, or one world economics, or one world food program, or one world health, or one world culture, or one world need? How will the world react to that? So the whole world through COVID locked down simultaneously. Nothing like that has ever happened before. We've had local or national lockdowns or demonstrations around the world at different times, but never something like this simultaneously. And a global lockdown, what did we see? The whole world was wearing a mask. The whole world was doing vaccination. The whole world was doing queuing. The whole world had penalties and restrictions of movement. The whole world was doing education at home. The whole world had moved working to home as far as possible. The whole world was suffering a global unemployment. So there was no difference between us and any other part of the world. And it is proven that people through fear or through force will do as they're told with little or no resistance. And where resistance is a possibility, distractions were or have been brought in. And we see this distractions. We've seen the Me Too came out, for example, Black Lives Matter, the George Floyd and the black police brutality. We then had the Epstein and Prince Andrew. So globally, if you look at the news from different countries, there have been distractions that have taken our attention from what is happening. And when people get close to the truth, another scare door is open. I don't know if anybody's ever seen Monsters, Inc., but we know that they open the scare doors, and what they want to do, they want to collect the screams, the fear of the children. And that is what governments are doing to us now. They want to collect our fear and then use it against us to keep us in control. But if you watch Monsters, Inc., you will find out the monsters are actually afraid of the children. And this is a position we need to put ourselves in. So rather than the nation collecting our fears and our screams so that we become helpless and we freeze, that we turn around and stand strong so that they're fearful of us, because we are a powerful people and the answers are with us, and we must not fear truth. And whatever the shock test is preparing us for, where it's taken to us to next, I can't say that at the moment, but we can see already the whole stories around Ghana taking a lead in forcing vaccination, and Jamaica saying that children being banned from school. I've just picked on Ghana and Jamaica because that's us directly as a people, and there's other things around the world and in our home nations that has responded to COVID, for example, that is making it very difficult for us. So we're a people of colour. We have a homeland, or we have a motherland, which is outside of England. So we all have a reason to travel. And one of the biggest impacts of the lockdown has been social isolation. And we know that this has led to mental well-being of people, but especially of the old and the young. And we know there are now concerns about the long-term effect this might have on us. And this continues as we have this kind of stop-start of lockdown and transmission breaks and social isolation. Now, if we cannot travel to our homeland and our motherland, then we're also experiencing a form of collective lockdown, a form of collective transmission break, a form of collective isolation. So this is just another trauma being drip-fed into us, so that we're suffering the stress of not now being able to travel freely. And just think how many of us already were unable to travel to weddings and birthdays or funerals or special occasions in our home countries due to the whole lockdown and vaccination expectations. And at this point, I want to say a big congratulations to Sister Anne-Marie, who showed to us what the power of belief and the power of prayer can do, and how truth has beaten lies in this particular case. Because we need to remember that if we're going to encourage our young people not to vaccinate, we are indirectly saying to them that they need to break those family, historical and spiritual connections from their homeland and their motherland, and rely slowly on the technicians that will allow them to connect with their family. So it's a catch-22, which I don't want to claim I have the answers to, but we can see the impact that is having on us now, a worldwide as a people. So the question is from that is, do we have free will? And can we escape from this? And we know that the whole concept of free will is a hotly debated one amongst philosophers and psychologists and so on and so forth. We think we make choices and we freely act on them. If you want to go to the shop and you want to go and buy a packet of crisps, you get up, you go to the shop and you buy a packet of crisps, and we feel that that has been free will. However, neuroscience evidences that the brain initiates our actions before we are consciously aware of them. Now, the brain lives in the blackness of the skull. It has no direct access to what's going on outside the body. It receives the outcomes through sense data that is sent to it, not by the cause. So it cannot, that's why it cannot differentiate between truth and lies, reality and fancy. It doesn't fear either of them because it doesn't directly see or feel or hear. It picks up the imagery. So without direct access to the causes, what this does to the brain, it causes the brain to prepare in the best way it can a response in advance. So it continuously draws on past experiences that appear similar to the present circumstances or the message that is coming to it. So it can prepare the bodies for the next action. And these predictions is our brain's planning or firing of the neurons to prepare the body to act a second or so before the response actually occurs. So this is quite important if you start thinking about what I've been saying so far. So it means that our brain's decision to eat a packet of crisps was launched as a plan of action before our brains even made a conscious decision about it. So this can also be true for subliminal messages and social brainwashing. So we need to be aware of that on a day-to-day basis. Now it's there. I'm not saying we should be afraid of it and we should lock ourselves away. To be conscious of it is a good starting point, because it will cause us to then to think about every action and decision we make, or before we make it, or after it has been made. So if our brain predicts in large part by reassembling our past experience that are similar to the present moment, it means that every experience that we cultivate for ourselves, everything we read, every new person we talk to, every new thing we learn, it makes us who we are, but it can also change who we are and to create an opportunity for our brains to function and plan and behave to our responses in a very different way. We can start to create and organize that for ourselves. We can start to nudge the future predictions in a different direction by investing in new experiences, investing in new habits. So free will is not what we think as a moment that happens now. Free will is over time. So we need to think about this free will. It's something that we create over time. So it's just like learning to ride a bike. We don't just get up one day and ride a bike. We learn it over time and we hone that skill, and the brain hones how to predict our behaviors when the bike wobbles or when the traffic goes in a certain way. So it becomes automatic and becomes repeated. And that's what we need to create. We need to create and engineer that for ourselves. And with practice and with personal investment and time, we can create automatic behaviors to control those future actions, so we can take back what the critical theories have taken from us. So the shock testing that is put upon us, that we can be aware of it. And we're not going to get it right every time, but we'll be aware of it quicker and can respond differently. Because just one thing I want to add to that, just as an educationalist now, it makes me wonder, if we're to start doing this and making the changes, what are some of the things our young people need to be looking at? And I know Professor Carver is going to look at this next week, but our young people, our Black young people, need to start studying philosophy and psychology to understand the European way, the impact it has on us, and how we can start to make those shifts. And I will do another session on that later in the year. I mean, maths is is one of my subjects, and we need more of our young people studying to be actuaries, to use maths and statistics, because that estimates the financial impact of uncertainties. It's all about insurance and pensions. The median salary for an actuary is £100,000. And it can take, however, 7 to 10 years to become fully qualified. Because even after you've got a BA, it can take an additional 4 to 5 years to pass all the 10 actuarial exams. How many of our young people want to study in an institutionalist organization for 10 years? But this is how strategy is run worldwide, and how to manage people. So we need to understand it, and we need to get involved in it. And we have to find ways of doing that.
Lady Adele, I know people around the world are going to cuss me for what I'm going to say. Time is up. Lady Adele, what you done today? Come off screen right now. Stop the share screen, sister.
But you know I haven't finished, Brother Andrew.
I know you're nowhere near finished, sister. I have never seen this person. I didn't know. Brothers and sisters, Lady Adele, you don't know. You have absolutely torn it tonight. Look, I've got Sister Sonia Brown. She says, Lady Adele, have you written any books on this subject? If no, you should consider, as you have such a massive impact. We've got Sister Sandra Robinson in the question, said, hi, I don't know whether this is going to be put on YouTube, Brother Andrew. However, I will pay you to watch a recording of tonight. I don't know, she said. She goes, I'll pay you, Brother Andrew, just to watch this again tonight. Lady Adele, I'm going to ask you a question because I know people are cussing me now. Lady Adele, please,
Brother Andrew,
can you finish this? And I know this wasn't the plan. Can you finish this next week? Because with yourself and Professor Kabar, it's going to be unbeatable next week. Can you finish this presentation next week? Please, Adele. Brothers and sisters, do you agree with me? Do you want to finish? You want Lady Adele to finish this?
How long has she got left?
No time, sister. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, jeez.
I'm not. Juanita, are you feeling this?
Oh,
Juanita, are you feeling this tonight?
Man, I'm sitting here with my notepad.
Woo!
No, how much longer, sister?
It's about 45 minutes left, I think.
Lord gosh. Brothers and sisters.
I'm making up, Brother Andrew. I'm making up for the lost time.
Yes, sister. My good sister. I mean, you are one of the best teachers we have in the UK. I'm going to say it. I don't care who's on the line. I don't care who's online. Sisters has given Brother Andrew a hard time tonight, but you know what? I'm leaving with my chest feeling good. I'm leaving with my head up high because sisters, you have killed it tonight. Lady Adele, I'm asking you, please, brothers and sisters, if you're feeling Lady Adele today, put down smelly, put down stinkified.
Oh,
sure, because Lady Adele did not rap.
Need its own dictionary.
Oh my God, that was smelly. That was absolutely stinkified, sister. You killed the game. Sister Samira. Lord gosh, don't let me. Lady Adele, don't laugh, please, because this has been the bane of my life right now.
Can
Lady,
I my notes? Can
that's your notes.
Oh gosh.
Oh, we're
notes?
rising up
Wow.
a nation.
Can I show you my notes?
We are rising up a nation, sister.
The 3 memories.
Come on.
I was just about to go into that, actually, Sister Samira. I was going to look at the 3 memories. Was actually the next slide.
Jeez.
Brother Andrew, come on, sir. You've messed up my name most of the time. Believe we can do. Come on, brothers and sisters in the chat. Do you not agree that just 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Woo! Time is gone. I'm telling you, next week's show, brothers and sisters, we've got over 405 of you laptops right now still on. Lady Adele kept everyone at the edge of their seats. I'm saying to you, next week, we're going to have the UK mashing down with New York City. London meets New York City next week. I'm going to have to change my timers around next week because Lady Adele, what you done tonight, oh my God. I want Professor Kabar to see you in action. I know he loves you anyway because you've been in front of him before and he sings your praise. But Lady Adele, you've given us such insight tonight. I'm going to ask Jurita and Samira.
Kellyon is asking if he can ask questions. Sir, you've asked a question about 5 times. So yes, you can ask questions. Send it through to the question and answer box, and then I'll see the question you want to ask.
What are the comments?
Yes,
what are the comments that picked up on yourselves?
There aren't that many questions in there. Just put lots of people who want to contact you, your friends and your people. Hold on, your followers. Do you have a podcast? Do you have a Patreon? Oh gosh.
We're gonna get that organized. I'll keep telling them.
That's a foreign language to me, everybody. I'm very old school. I'd be very happy with a blackboard and pen. I'm very old school. I know I've got to get these things sorted out, but I'm not there yet.
I have seen one question, but I don't know. Do we have time for this one question from Maxine Grant?
Literally, Maxine Grant, because she's such a fundamental PowerPoint. She is awesome. And only Sister Maxine can ask a question. What's the question, Sister Maxine?
Sister Maxine, I hope that everyone agrees this is a brilliant question. I think it is. When people say to me, how can we homeschool? What about exam qualifications?
So there's
in order to work. Sorry. Yes. And what about exam qualifications to work so that she can prepare the children for life? Thank you for reinforcing this, Lady Maya.
So if I've got it right, Sister Samira, the question being asked is, if you're homeschooling, how do you do exams? So that is a difficult one, only in that it would rely on a school, because you can make private entries into exams, but usually through a school. What would be really interesting, actually, and this is a piece of information I can find out, is that we do have a homeschooling network. I would like to think that the National Homeschooling Network, which is not a black platform, but the homeschooling network, would have the means for getting young people access to exams. What I've done in the past, but because I'm an educator, so I have the liberty of doing that. For example, I wanted my daughter to sit exams. I just entered her on the roll of my school. So she went in, she was on my school, and we entered her privately that way. So there may be some people at homeschool who have links within school and can get that to happen. But if not, it would be about contacting the National Homeschooling Organisation and ask them, what is the route to that? I've known other families who've signed up with education agencies just for the purpose of getting exam entries in as well.
Praise God. Brothers and sisters, tonight, what a night. Wow. Lady Adele, you take that drink and drink it good. Drink it good tonight. because my God, you gave us food. You went in. You didn't play, sister. You did not play.
There's
You
no
talked
time
from
to
the
play,
hip.
Brother Andrew. We're running out of time. There is no
I hear
time
you,
to play.
sis. I hear you, sis. You're one of our great scholars here in the UK, and it's great to see. It's basically all sisters again tonight. It's been absolutely phenomenal. What's dropped down. So next week, brothers and sisters, wow, brothers and sisters, we thank you so much. Yeah,
Uncle, 1 second, 1 second.
Yes.
Mr. Ross finally got his question in, and I promised if he sent it in that I'd ask. So I've just seen it pop up. I haven't read it just yet. It says, I'm studying at SOAS, studying politics of Africa with all sorts of modules, including African philosophy, with all of the different types of theories, such as interpretism and positivism. Why has critical theory, for me, Mr. Ross, you didn't write this good, you're making me sound silly. Why has critical theory, the ultimate method to solve life issues, why has that not been exercised to its entirety?
You're mute. You're mute.
I don't fully understand the question, Mr. Ross. But am I right in saying you're asking why is critical theory is being pushed to its limit? It is the Tavistock Institute and all the leaders around that. That's how decisions are made around philosophy and psychological thinking globally. Actually, they influence education. They influence how we think about health. Around the world, so it is being pushed to its limit. What we have to look at is how the other philosophies that are sidelined understand what difference and what impact they can make, and how we use them as well. But being careful that critical theory is not underpinning, is not the foundation of that still. So I'm not quite sure the question. Maybe Mr. Ross can put it in the chat, and then I can look at it again and come back with that answer as a part of next week.
Great.
Beautiful.
Thank you, sister. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much, brothers and sisters. As you know, time has gone, but Lady Adele, my God, brothers and sisters, we say this warning: once you go down the rabbit hole with Lady Adele, there is no going back. Prepare to leave the world you thought you knew. And Lady Adele's given us the Alice in Wonderland teaching tonight, brothers and sisters. She's taken us down that rabbit hole. She's taken us down that rabbit hole, brothers and sisters. And we thank Lady Adele for that big time. Brothers and sisters, please, once again, in the chat room, if you felt Lady Adele, drop some ones. If you want to thank her for taking that, a breakdown like that, sister, brothers and sisters, that can't be done overnight. That can't be done on your way home from work. That is diligent studying. Diligent studying. And so we don't get paid for the shows. None of us, none of the people that come on this platform, Jarita, Samira, we don't get paid. We do this out of a duty of love. And so Lady Adele, we know that has taken you weeks to put together, man. That was clinical, and that was giving us an understanding of the world that we're living in. We thank you, Lady Adele. The truth fears no lies. Part 2 will be next week. So don't miss it and don't come late. Part 2 will be next week. Brothers and sisters, can we please also show some love to our Ipswich community? If you're from Ipswich, make some noise, man. Sister Francine gave a fantastic ambassadorial representation of the works being done in Ipswich, man. We love you. If you're from Ipswich, we love you, brothers and sisters. Keep that community tight. And we want to support Sister Francine and the community up in Ipswich. Brothers and sisters, our homework today from the Hidden Truth, remember, we're not just talking. We want to make movements in the real world. Brothers and sisters, please, Sister Samira, Sister Jarita, can you please put the link again for Sister Clarion? Please, brothers and sisters, I'm asking you from Hidden Truth, Let's support that beautiful little project being run in Jamaica for our children. Let's show the sister that Hidden Truth, we can raise up monies that they can use to do what they need to do. I'm asking you to donate. If you've already donated, make sure you put it down. And if you're yet to donate, please donate tonight and share the links. I want us to have a great time with this sister. I want to hear some great news that we on Hidden Truth, we're not just talking, we actually support each other in reality. This is what you call liberation. This is what we're talking about on this platform, brothers and sisters. We attract hundreds of you to come on every single week to support us in this work. And brothers and sisters, next week, apart from Lady Adele, you know that's enough. I don't know how our brains are going to take it. Next week, we've got Professor Kabar. If you've not heard this brother before, just go on YouTube. That's all I'm going to say to you. I could be lying to you. Go on YouTube, tap in Professor Kabar, and just sit back. Just sit back. This brother, I love this brother. I'm saying it again. I love this brother. Check out Professor Kabar. He's going to be with us next week from New York. And Professor Kabar and Lady Adele are two master educationalists. And on next week, we're jamming them together. We are jamming them together. Next week is gonna be mad. It's gonna be mad, brothers and sisters. And I want to say thank you so much to all of you